Hi, I'm Susan Papanicholas from How Does Your Garden Grow in Seattle, Washington. I'm here today in a client's garden in the middle of February to show you this incredible Hellebore orientalis. Can you believe it's the middle of February? It's like the dead of winter, and these flowers just look so beautiful. I really love Hellebores for the addition of flowers that they bring at such a quiet time of year. And on top of that, this type of Hellebore also really works well the rest of the year in the garden. It can handle shade, it can handle a little bit of drought, it works really well in the understory of trees, and it makes a great companion plant for other woodland and understory plants. It has bold, dark green leaves, it has a really pretty texture, and holds its own throughout the year. But February is when I get most excited about Hellebores. They come in all kinds of different blooming types. There are dark flowers and light flowers and pink and apricot. They come in singles or doubles. This is a single one, which means it has sort of this more open flower to it with one row of petals around it. The other thing that's really great about Hellebores is the flowers last for a really long time. This kind of the showy part of this flower are actually modified leaves called a bract. So long after the flower has been pollinated and it forms a seed head, you still keep this ring of bracts around the back of it. So it looks like it's in bloom all the way into May. A lot of people get confused about how to take care of their Hellebores and when to cut them back. So I have a very technical rule of thumb, which is when it looks crummy, you cut it back. So in late January, as these Hellebore orientalis are getting ready to bloom, sometimes last year's leaves look like they've had a really rough winter. They can be really beat up and crummy looking and falling open and have a lot of brown spots on them. And you can absolutely cut those back at this time of year. This type of Hellebore, actually, the flowers come up on a stem from the ground and the leaves come up separately on a stem from the ground. So if you cut off last year's leaves, you're not going to lose any of these flowers. So that's what happened on this one right here. The leaves were looking crummy in January, so they got cut back to the ground. And then this bouquet of flowers comes up with none of last year's leaves around it. It has a clean background. If the leaves look pretty good, I leave them in place because I think they make a nice supporting background for the Hellebore. But if they don't look good, I definitely cut them off. So you can do a spectrum from cutting all the leaves off before it blooms, cutting a few ratty leaves off before it blooms, or leaving all the leaves in place before it blooms so that the flowers come up in the middle of last year's leaves. As the growing season progresses, last year's leaves, if you've left them up, will start to decline over time. But they're easy to cut off as they look crummy. They sort of open up and fall out, so you can have easy access to them. And because they're a big, bold leaf, you can just cut them off whenever they look bad. It's not hard to disentangle them from the new growth. And then you get this glorious flower display, February, March, April. Then in May, it'll probably start to decline. It might get aphids, they'll sort of fall over. And then you can cut those flower stems off and you'll be left with that gorgeous, rich, green, bold foliage for the rest of the growing season. It's a great plant for the woodland, it's a great plant for shade, and it's a great plant for bringing beautiful blossoms in a variety of colors to the winter garden.